The question today is, can you beat Borderlands 2 gunless with Maya? The rules for this run are pretty simple. I can only use items from these 4 slots, no guns of any type allowed. Once I defeat the warrior and end the game, the run is over. I chose to do Maya gunless because I think she's easily the hardest vault hunter to do it with. Maybe Gage could be argued, but all the other ones are significantly easier. I turned off bar, and the mods I'm using are the Better Travels mod, which lets you travel like you can in BL3, Boss Bar, which gives the mini bosses actual like bars on the top of the screen, Loot Markers, which mark any legendary items that drop like in BL3, and then the BL2 Fix mod, which fixes some of the bugs in BL2 and just makes it a more fun experience. I made Maya look pretty cool and named her Gunless Maya and just started the run. I threw my guns away as soon as I started in and made it into Claptrap's house. Knuckle Dragger immediately ripped Claptrap's eye out of his head, so I picked up the gun and dropped it immediately also. I'm headed to DigiPeak now so I can get some early XP levels. When you turn in the mission, you get to level 3 instantly. Then I headed to fight for Sanctuary so I could get some early Iridium and level up there as well. The enemies are level 30, but Mordecai's able to kill them, and that's what lets you level up. Made it to level 4 and 5, 6, and once I made it to 7, I headed back to Windshear Waste to go kill Knuckle Dragger. I might have struggled a little bit on this kill, and then Skyrocket basically takes care of anything for a long time, so that's what I'm using. Punch Knuckle Dragger in the face a few times. And of course, on the run where I can't use guns, I get the Hornet drop. I bought some grenades in Fight for Sanctuary and then headed back to Liarsburg. I did a little spinning punch move on these guys. Cleared out the town. Because I was over leveled, it was pretty easy to just punch everything. Hammerlock gave Claptrap his eye back, and I killed Boom Boom with 2 Skyrockets. That's all it took. I needed to farm a little bit of XP before I went and fought Flint, so I made it up to level 8. Got to level 9 as well. And then I made it up to Claptrap to rescue him. And of course Claptrap can't make it up the stairs, because what can he do? I made it to the Flint fight, and I died a few times. It was harder than I thought, especially because I started out trying to get grenades to kill him, but that just wasn't working. So eventually, I just decided that the melee approach was the best option, so I just punched him to death. I boarded Claptrap's ship and turned in the mission. I was getting close to Sanctuary, but I needed to get the catcher ride working, so I grabbed the part from the robot and hopped in the car. I jumped the gap on my first try. Don't worry, I didn't mess it up. I tried to get into Sanctuary, but I needed to find Reese first. I picked up the Echo and found him behind this cliff. Killed the bandits that were fighting him pretty easily. I talked to him, and then I needed to go find a power core. Here's why the Skyrocket's bad, because you can blow yourself up, but I got lucky with the second wind. When getting the power core, this psycho will always drop it every time. It took me about an hour and a half to make it to Sanctuary, so not terrible. I turned in the mission. The gate took a solid minute before it opened up, so that was pretty cool. I met Scooter. I helped Scooter start preparing Sanctuary and picked up some Iridium to head over to Crazy Earl. I spent the Iridium on Grenade mod since that's really the only thing I need. I changed Maya's clothes and changed her name to Fists. I picked up the Echo that Roland left for me, and I made it to level 10 as well. Here's how the skill tree's looking so far, and after I was done with that, I picked up the mission Assassinate the Assassins to get some extra XP. I headed over to Southpaw's Demon Power. I was getting shot in the back as I was running in, but I made it in just fine. Starting with the first assassin, I killed him no problem because the skyrocket is broken. He dropped the Emperor on the first kill, and of course it's on the gunless run. Even though it's not a good gun, it's still nice to get legendaries. I ran out of grenades, so I punched Oni to death. Took a little while though. Wreath was next, and I took him out with a skyrocket and a few punches. Finally, for the last assassin. Wait, what? He's already dead? Yeah, it's because I used the skyrocket. Turned in the mission. I needed to farm the assassins for a little bit more XP, but I was also farming these lockers for some iridium so I could upgrade my grenades. I headed back to Sanctuary and made it up to 6 grenades now. The skyrocket was the easiest way to kill the assassin just because it was so fast. I made it up to level 12, and I stopped at about 12.5 because that's all I needed for now. I headed over to Frostburn Canyon so I could finally start doing the story. I got a loot midget out of this crate, but since it's normal mode, he didn't drop anything. I got the skip first try. Yeah, I'm a goat, I know. What? No way! The Firehawk is Lilith? I would have never guessed that. I turned in the mission, but needed to grab Lilith's 2 other missions before I went and saved Roland. I started off by killing Bull. You can actually get the first echo down by throwing a skyrocket or any grenade at it. Picked up the first echo, grabbed the second echo, and then grabbed the third one. The mod I'm using now is the BL2 Eternal mod. It basically just gives you some extra movement speed. You can dash midair like I'm doing on screen right now. And when you melee an enemy when they have 15% HP or lower, they can drop 5 times the amount of their loot. So I got a fire fastball, an explosive fastball. I made it to level 14. And then I got a corrosive fastball. And then as you can see, look, he dropped 2 fastballs, a shock and a corrosive on the same run. I then went back to Frostburn Canyon to go talk to Clayton. It took me a little while, but I picked up the ashes. I killed Scorch. And then I lit Matchstick on fire. And of course, when I'm doing a gunless run, Flint drops a Thunderball Fist. FaZe needs to recruit me because I hit every single one of these first try. Look, the first grenade hit, even though I threw an extra one, the first one hit. And then, boom, first one hit again. Yup, newest FaZe member. I killed Clayton and made it up to level 15. I turned in the mission to Lilith and got the Flame of the Firehawk shield. I changed my skin and my name to Fiery Fists. I spec'd into the far right tree because I was about to get a skill that could let my punches do fire damage. I drove to Bloodshot Stronghold, but of course they weren't going to let me in, so I had to head over to the dust and blow up cars to get parts to make a bandit technical. I picked up the pieces and headed back to Ellie's workshop. Surely the bandits wouldn't just fall for someone driving a car that looks like theirs. Well, turns out they did. I got into the front and killed Badma. If you need XP, you can stand at this gate and throw a fastball, and you can kill Badma really easily. I made it to level 16, level 17, and then I killed Mad Mike with a fastball and made it to level 18. I finally got the skill that lets me have fire on my fists when I punch. I rescued Roland and was about to save him, but then a giant robot named Warden grabbed him. Yeah, it sucks when your boys get kidnapped by giant robots, but there's really nothing you can do about it. I was honestly really nervous for the Warden fight. Because he's a constructor, he resists grenade damage, and when all I have is grenades, it's pretty tough. Like the fight's playing out, the grenades did like no damage to him. So I punched him in the face and honestly killed him pretty easily. Me and Roland made it back to Sanctuary, and now it was time to head to Tundra Express. I just punched the fire melon and 3 of our kids lit on fire pretty easily. I know I skipped over Mordecai, but he has a whole mission, so we'll get to him later. I picked up both the rockets. I picked up the badonkadonks and headed to the vantage point to shoot down the train. The area where you fight Wilhelm, if you just walk through the door but don't move at all, you can throw a grenade at your feet, which will down you. When you bleed out, you'll spawn right at the Wilhelm boss fight. This fight is so easy. Apparently, Jack poisoned Wilhelm, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that he's a vault hunter, and it took 4 fastballs to kill him. I made it back to Sanctuary and put in the power core. I really hope nothing bad happens. Something bad happened. So, I grabbed some grenades, picked up the iridium, just left Roland to die, gave it to Lilith, and teleported to Three Horns Divide. I made it to the fridge. I tried to use the fast travel, but Sanctuary wasn't on it, so I had to pick up a lunar supply beacon. I crossed the waterway. A thresher got to the beacon before me, so I had to try and kill it with fastballs. They did good damage, but they wouldn't get through the shield, so I took care of it with a phase lock. I grabbed the beacon and was headed to Overlook. I was just wailing on this constructor, but to keep it short and sweet, Overlook took me about 30 minutes, and I just can't be bothered to edit that. But I killed everything and established the link, and then headed back to Sanctuary. Now that Sanctuary was in the air, I needed some more XP, so I picked up the mission Mighty Morphin from Hammerlock. I needed to head down to Caustic Caverns, so I made 2 giant leaps and went through the door. The Varkids that come out of these pods give you really good XP, and they're easy to take care of with a fastball. I made it up to level 20. I made it to level 21. Now it's Mordecai's mission. I make it to the Wildlife Exploitation Preserve, and I go talk to him. I make it through the shipping yard after just killing the loaders. I couldn't get them wounded. It just didn't work. I killed the stalker, and now I needed to kill the loader. It only took a few fastballs to kill him, and now I was on the hunt for Bloodwing. I found one of her feathers and a pool of blood. That's probably not the best sign. I made it to the fight, fastball in hand, and smacked her in the face. I used the combination of phase lock and fastball to end it. It took 4 fastballs again. The fastball is just broken basically throughout normal mode until the warrior fight. But I love Bloodwing too much to let her die, so I took the tag and headed back to Sanctuary. I turned in the mission to Roland and was off to fight the hardest boss of them all, the Slab King. I dropped into the arena and got the Goliath mad so they could do some of the work for me. I mainly used the fastball this fight just because of how much damage it does. I survived the initiation, and Brick turned out to be the Slab King. Who would have guessed? I gave him the note Roland gave me, and we started breaking the beacons together. First one was down, then he got the second one, and the third one got finished as well. Next, I was headed to Opportunity to kill Jack's body double. This was a pretty easy fight. I phase locked him and hit him with 3 fastballs to end the fight. I picked up the pocket watch off of Jack and went around collecting voice samples. I got the last sample and went to pick up the chip. Now I could get into bunker later. I turned in the mission to Roland and headed back to Caustic Caverns to get some more XP. Now I needed to make it to level 24. I made it to 23, and there's 24. Now it's time to fight bunkers, so I headed over to 1000 Cuts to try this grenade jump. I made it first try and headed to talk to Claptrap. He opened the gate for me, and it was time to fight the first constructor. This fight was a little rough, I'm not gonna lie. I went down to his laser beam, but I was still able to punch him in the face when I was down. I got my second win and just tried to get to the save point. I took out the turrets with my phase lock because some grenades you can't hit them with. Now this constructor was a different story. I died and died and died. I died some more. Until finally I just sat in this spot and phase locked him till he died. Yeah, it was cheaty, but I died again for good measure, so that makes up for it, I think. I finally made it to the bunker, and this fight I was a little nervous about. The first thing that I had to do before I could actually fight Bunker was destroy all the autocannons. This wasn't hard at all to do, it just took a little bit of time having to hit all 11 cannons. For the Bunker fight, when I was staying up top, I was throwing corrosive fastballs at him, but when I was under, avoiding damage from him, I was throwing skyrockets up, and that was doing the most amount of damage. I'll just play out the clip of the rest of the fight. I threw the last fastball to kill him. The last part of the mission was to find Angel. Angel got absolutely launched. And this next part of the mission isn't too hard, it's just a lot of mobbing, but the fastballs and Flame of the Firehawk shield made it pretty easy to do. I blew up the first injector and did some more mobbing. I blew up the second injector, got to level 25. I killed the last of the robots and just decided to punch the last injector for good measure. I turned the mission into Roland and got instantly teleported, so nothing bad happened. Don't worry about Roland. I turned in the mission to Mordecai and was getting close to the end of the game. Now it's time to move on to Iridium Blight, but first I needed to stop at Crazy Earl to level up my grenade mod more. On my way to Arid Nexus, I ran into King Mong, so I shot him with my car and then finished him off with a fastball. I was farming King Mong for XP, so I'd shoot him with my car and then finish him off with a fastball. It gives you more XP than if you just kill him in your car. I made it to Sawtooth Cauldron. I killed the first 2 commanders and made it up to level 26. I killed all 4 of them. I destroyed the Boombringer with a snipe from the fastball. I was pretty nervous for the part where you have to kill 5 buzzards because all I have is my melee and fastball, but I gave it my best shot. I killed 1 buzzard and then decided I needed to go back and kill Mortar. It was good that I killed him because he dropped me the pandemic, which is something I can actually use. It took me 15 minutes, but I was able to kill all 5 buzzards, but I went down as I did it. I attempted an insane phase trick shot, but I missed. I got pretty close though. Now I made it to Arid Nexus. I turned in the mission. My next move was to head back to Mordecai and get this just in mission so I could farm Hunter Hellquest. I made it to the pipeline, and just so you guys know, if that ladder wouldn't have fallen, this mission wouldn't have even been a thing. I was able to overload the first pump station. I got to the second one. It was a bit harder, but I was able to do it. Now I moved on to the third pump station and got that done as well. I might have overshot the ramp a little bit, but I made it in regardless. Now it's time for the Saturn boss fight, so I hit the elevator and save quit. Yeah, no, I am not about to fight Saturn with my melee and grenades. I used a grenade jump trick that I learned so you can skip the Saturn boss fight. If you throw it up against this rock right here, you can launch yourself over this platform. Pretty easy. I made it into the room, waited a little while, and picked up the data mining chip. When you're farming Hunter Hellquest, you don't actually have to go up the elevator. You can just throw a singularity grenade and it'll pull him down. I was just trying to farm Hunter Hellquest for XP, but it didn't work, so I went back to King Mong and made it to level 27. I farmed him for about 15 minutes and made it to level 28. Now, at this point, I thought I was ready to fight Jack, but we'll come back to that later. I started off by clearing out all the troops, killed the badass loaders. After some fighting, the doors finally unlocked. Sadly, Claptrap couldn't come with me because there were stairs and he's useless. I made it into Heroes Pass and wanted to do as little fighting as possible, so here are some skips I used. You can run down this rock to get around and you don't have to wait for Mordecai to blow up the gate for you. Here you can grenade jump up to that platform and then jump around the side and jump over this little ledge. I made it to the end of Hero's Pass, and now it was time to fight Jack and the Warrior. I underestimated how strong Jack would be because he was level 32 and I was level 28. I tried everything for honestly 45 minutes, but I just couldn't kill him. I tried to pull him into the lava with a singularity, but that didn't work because he couldn't be pulled. I died by falling into the lava once, died up here. Jack's resistant to grenade damage, so I tried punching him, but that still wasn't good enough. And Jack gravity punched me into the lava, and I died again. I needed some more XP if I was going to be able to kill Jack and then the Warrior, so I headed to Arid Nexus to farm Bonehead for some XP. I killed this loader and made it to level 29, and then phase locked Bonehead and killed him to get to level 30, which is all I needed. This is the only skip I didn't show last time, and it's the easiest of all of them, just a simple grenade jump across this gap. I made it back to the vault of the Warrior, and I had a feeling this was going to be a pretty easy fight now that I was leveled up. I dropped into the arena and started by throwing sky rockets, and that was doing a pretty good amount of damage. A lot more than last time. I stripped his shield, and I was still using sky rockets because they scale to your level. My strategy was I was staying back here and just getting grenades out of this refreshing chest. Jack just kind of stood there while I punched him in the face, so that was my strategy. I phase locked him and killed him. Now to talk about the Warrior fight. I'm going to be completely honest. I played it like a baby. I just sat back at the safe spot, grabbing grenades from this chest and throwing them at the Warrior when I could. The whole fight took me about 45 minutes to do, but that's just because I played it safe the whole time. The two ways of doing damage was throwing fastballs at him and phase locking him. The reason I was using a corrosive fastball was because I had a relic that boosted my corrosive damage by 36%, so it ended up being the strongest out of my fastballs. The fight with the Warrior took a long time, but now it was finally over. I called in the moonshot, destroyed the Warrior, and to end the game, I had to hit a nasty trick shot on Jack. Oh my god, please phase recruit me. So, other than that snipe, no guns were used, and it was a completely gunless Maya run. I dropped all my guns, touched the vault key, and ended the game. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, and tell me what you want to see next. Have a good rest of your day.